Hello, my loves. It's Tiffany, the Miracles Coach. So today I want to talk to the woman that I feel super passionate about supporting and the woman that I genuinely believe I'm called to pour into and to do this work with. So this message is for the creative, miraculous, purpose-driven women, coaches, healers, leaders, artists, all of you that know that you're called are miracle workers, light leaders, and you know that you're meant for far more than you've been allowing yourself to experience. More wealth, more impact, more freedom, and of course, miracles, right? In every area of your life. If you're in this collective, I know you're probably someone who values growth, evolution, expansion, and you're somebody who's authentic and unapologetic about who you are, whose you are, what you came to this world to do, what you desire, and what you know is meant for you. You know you have a divine calling on your life to be wealthy and successful by being of service. You're here to leave your mark on the world. And maybe you feel like life has been really, really hard, especially over the past few years. You're starting to maybe realize that you're here to learn all of the super hard lessons, or maybe you're just starting to wake up to the idea that somehow you're the chosen one in your family that was meant to break a lot of this stuff in your bloodline, the poverty mindsets and the generational traumas and curses and legacies of lack. Or maybe you always knew that to some extent, but you didn't realize that you were the one responsible for changing all of it, correcting all of it. Maybe you know that your soul was sent here for such a time as this to raise the consciousness, not only of your own family, not only your bloodline, but also the consciousness of this entire planet. And if that's you, you're the woman I want to talk to today. The woman that I feel super passionate about supporting and the woman that I genuinely believe I'm called to pour into and to do this work with. Because I've been sharing a lot about these 6 decisions that I made in the last few audios. And one of those decisions was devotion, that I would be devoted to God over everything. But I really want to add another layer to that, because in that decision, I was also choosing to be devoted to myself. And even though this self-devotion still falls under, devotion, obviously, and I would say maybe even sovereignty, it's something that I wanted to make sure I talked about separately as its own decision, because I really feel like this is such an important piece for women who are called. And honestly, I feel like this might be the decision that made all the other decisions possible, because the main decision that I had to make was putting myself first. And I know that might sound simple to some people, and to other people it might be like, what do you mean? Especially if you're a mom or wife or a caregiver, if you're the person that everybody comes to and everybody leans on, you're the strong one. Putting yourself first goes against everything you've been conditioned to do. Most of us have been taught to put everyone above ourselves. In most cases, we've watched pretty much every woman in our life do this, right? And we do this so automatically. We're so programmed to do it that we don't even realize that we're doing it. But I had to learn that when you pour from empty, everybody suffers, including you, including the people you're trying to take care of and that you're pouring yourself out for. Nobody wins when you're depleted. And I don't want to go that far, but God forbid something happens to you because you're giving all the time. You won't be able to take care of people anyway. You won't be in the position or the condition to take care of somebody else. So I had to make that decision for myself, and I want you to make that decision for yourself too, to put yourself first, even when it feels uncomfortable, when it doesn't look like the logical decision in the moment, when other things seem more pressing or more important. I want you to still choose you. That's the decision I had to make, because I finally started to understand that choosing me was honoring me, but even more importantly, it was honoring God at the same time and honoring what he placed inside of me to steward. Like, I can't be who God is calling me to be if I'm being everything that everybody else wants me to be. So putting yourself first is putting God first too. Because if I'm one with God, then everything I do when I'm spending time with God is also spending time with me. But at the same time, you can also be, and you should also be, very intentional about each one individually as well, okay? There are different practices you can do with intention to nurture each relationship individually and also both at the same time. You can focus on yourself, and you can also be very intentional about focusing on God, and vice versa. They're kind of one and the same, but you have to be intentional about each one and both. And that decision to put yourself first and to put God first every day has to be something you choose. It's an everyday choice. That said, something interesting I'm learning in this season, and I'd actually say I've learned over the past year or so, especially as God has been working with me about trusting my intuition, trusting his voice, trusting when I know, or even when I don't know or can't see the meaning behind something or what the outcome will be. But it's trusting the unknown, trusting the process, trusting that if I'm not feeling called to something or taking a specific action, I don't have to force it. And it's complicated sometimes because we hear so much about the taking action piece of manifesting. You need to be doing your part, being consistent, working hard, making things happen. But you don't hear as much about this being a co-creative process. And even when people are talking about that, it's still usually more about the action and what you need to be doing or what you're supposed to be doing. And I have some really great mentors, but they all teach from their own perspective and experiences, as we We all do. So I had to learn to be more discerning about what is someone else's truth and what is my own truth, because I've intentionally chosen to live a surrendered life where I do things God's way. I'm no longer living my life to please people. I'm only interested in being a God pleaser. I'm only interested in being on God's payroll and God's timeline. Everybody teaches through their own filters. So when you get teaching from me, you're going to get the filter of surrender and trust, rest and regulation, complete oneness, co-creation, and divine partnership with source. Because in my world, the decisions, the surrender, and the embodiment are what informs the action. Who you are being is far more important than what you are doing, because the quality and the potency of the action is determined by the identity and the energy it originates from. Let me say that again, okay? Who you are being is far more important than what you are doing, because the quality and the potency of the action is determined by the identity and the energy it originates from. Think quality over quantity. Or another concept I really love to talk about is frequency over frequency, as in the frequency in which you do a thing is more important than how frequently you do it. And I know the algorithm makes you feel like that's not true, but you weren't created and called to be a slave to the algorithm. The algorithm is meant to serve you. So I'm far more interested in the energy, intention, devotion, and the frequency behind what I create than I am in how many times a week I can force myself to create. Because I'd rather give you one message that came straight from the depths of my being and my oneness with source that I actually feel called and convicted to share than 7 messages I manufactured because somebody else told me I needed to post every day to stay relevant. And a lot of what you'll often hear from other people is you need to be taking action, and you can't sit around and meditate and expect to receive, even though, like I tell y'all all the time, I've done that countless times in my life, and I do it all the time. As a matter of fact, I always do it. It's a normal thing for me. All of my biggest breakthroughs and quantum leaps came from seasons of deep surrender. But people who try to tell you that you can't create from your feminine energy are people who likely haven't experienced that in their own lives. And that's okay. Just like for me, hustle has never gotten me the outcomes I wanted, so I'm not going to teach you from that perspective. So I think it's all relative at the end of the day. You have to learn to trust your own inner knowing and what you feel is true for you. You have to trust what's inside of you. You have to trust what you feel like God is saying to you. And you also have to learn how God speaks to you. And this is one among the many awesome things I absolutely love about God and how he created us so beautifully, is that we all have many different ways to hear him and to receive information, guidance, instruction, and support from him. And if you're in this collective, I venture to say that you may be similar to me in the way that you're probably very gifted. You may have very unique and interesting ways that you navigate this world. You could be a sentient being who feels very deeply, or you could have a gut response that can quickly and easily intuit or discern something that even the mind may not even be able to grasp or make sense of yet. Like, I don't know, something about that just doesn't feel right, Or you could be a very cognizant being with a mind that can receive a deep inner knowing out of nowhere, just download like, bam, I understand this and I know that it's true. Or you could just have a spirit that simply recognizes truth the moment you hear it. And also, when you learn and understand your human design, you discover even more amazing ways that you can hear God. And also, I just want to note here, okay, everyone has the ability to hear from God. It's not reserved for only a special or select few. But how you hear and how developed those channels are differs from person to person. Some of us may have leaned into a particular gift so much that it has become second nature, while someone else, it might take more practice to even notice that the gift is there. And I know sometimes on the outside looking in, it looks like some people genuinely do have more giftings and more developed giftings, and that could be true. But here's what's even more beautiful and amazing about that. The closer you get with God, the easier it is for you to hear him. The more time you spend in his presence, the stronger his voice gets. The more you listen to your gut, the clearer it gets. The more you pay attention to that deep inner knowing that you feel, the louder it becomes. So this is less about hearing being a gift that some people have and some people just don't. It's more that it's a muscle. And every time you trust it, every time you listen to it, every time you lean into it, you're exercising it, you're building it. Because we're all created with multiple ways that are unique to our own individual blueprints to receive whatever information we may need in any moment. So I'm learning to listen to and trust my intuition and listen to when God speaks. But I'm also learning to trust my emotions as well. And I know this might be a little controversial, right? Like, I really had to sit with this for a minute myself, because as I was thinking through it and talking through it, I was like, but that sounds crazy. I don't know if I want to tell people something like that, because pretty much everybody in the world would tell you you can't trust your emotions, because you can't just decide just because you don't feel like doing something that you shouldn't. Like, I was really arguing with my own intuition and my own download in that moment. Like, no, emotions are fickle. We can't trust them all the time. Everybody knows that. So I can't go on YouTube and tell people to trust their emotions. That's insane. But hear me out. So let's say, for example, I'm procrastinating or I'm not lit up about a message like how I've been feeling over the past 2 weeks. I'm really starting to actually love when this happens because now in hindsight, I can see things differently and so much clearer. I might not have known all the details in the moment, but now I can see how 9 times out of 10, when I don't force a message and I allow things to kind of marinate and, percolate a little, something deeper and much more profound always comes through. So me not feeling called to it and not lit up about it, that can be more than just a fleeting emotion. There could actually be some meaning to that feeling. And after really sitting with this for a while, I came to the conclusion that the deeper truth wasn't so much about trusting the emotion itself necessarily. It was more about seeing the emotion as information. And if you're an Abraham Hicks fan, you've probably heard them say that emotions are feedback, and they often teach that your emotions are a guidance system that can tell you whether your emotions or whether what you're feeling is in alignment with the perspective of your higher self. Or to make it simpler, whether your thoughts are aligned with the truth of your oneness with source. So I don't want to tell you that your feelings should be trusted in a way that they're always necessarily right or always instructions that you have to adhere to or not simply because you don't feel like doing something or whatever the case is. But what I want you to consider though is that they can be an invitation to inquiry and introspection, and that they deserve a pause, because we're so conditioned to be going and doing all the time that we constantly override our feelings so we can get things done and be productive and all of these different things that the world tells you that you need to do and have to do and should be doing. And when you really listen closely to that voice in your head, a lot of times you'll discover that that voice arguing with the feeling isn't even your voice. So you might say, or the feelings might say, I'm exhausted, I need to rest. Then immediately another voice comes in. No, you're being lazy. You need to be more productive. If you want to be successful, you got to be consistent. You're behind. You need to push through. You can't expect what you want to happen if you don't make it happen. Because the world loves to praise hustle and being booked and busy and doing all the things. I could tell you why that is, but it will open a can of worms we don't have time for today. So maybe in another audio. But in most cases, all of that noise is just internalized cultural conditioning, productivity culture, parents, a partner, a mentor, past authority figures, or simply beliefs that you've just absorbed through simple repetition. So part of the inquiry becomes, whose voice is that? Because you'll realize in most cases, you're overriding your own internal guidance to obey a voice that's not even yours in the first place. That's the biggest piece. And one of the best examples I gave myself as I was trying to sort through this and make sense of it so that I can try to explain to you why I believe that you should trust your emotions is that I'm on a weight loss journey and I know I have to move my body every day, right? So I have a number of ways that I do that, and it really doesn't matter which one or what combination I choose every day or whatever. I just have to get it done. I just need to move my body. But there are some days it's really just like, I don't feel like that today, because sometimes I'm physically tired or I know my body needs rest. And sometimes even emotional and mental exhaustion can also create tiredness in the body. So if I'm just feeling exhausted, sometimes I just want to do something mindless. Like, what do they call it? Rotting. I just want to sit around and watch YouTube videos or watch TV with my daughters or whatever. And I think those days are okay. Some days I just don't feel like it. But I'm like, get up and do it anyway because you need to do it, right? Or I may decide to do something lighter or easier than I normally do. So it's not that every time I say I don't feel like it, that I don't do it. I just think that we have to learn to give ourselves grace in those moments because we deserve that. Like we deserve to be heard. And I mean, of course, most of the time after you do it, you're glad you did it. You got the endorphins going. You got a little dopamine hit or whatever. You feel better anyway. And the same goes for creating content and stuff like that. A lot of times when we just get it done, we feel proud and we feel accomplished afterwards. And that's why I love posting on Fridays, because I feel like, oh, now I can take the weekend off and I don't have to think about work until Monday because I did what I needed to do. And that's not a bad thing. But what I want to make sure that I specifically mention for those of you who may have a hard time with the posting all the time and the posting every day and feeling like you have to always be on and always have something to say to appease the algorithm or your audience or whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish, especially those of you who are yet to even start doing what God called you to do because it feels mountainous and you don't know how or where to start. Okay, I see you. I feel you. I understand. I've been in that place before, but you have to start. Okay, but this is important for women and those of us who are moms and wives and everything to everyone, because I feel like we're always so busy doing everything for everybody. But you also have to remember that you need you as well, that you may need to listen to that feeling because you may need your own attention in that moment. And pausing for a second can help you distinguish whether this is something you want to do or need to do right now, or if it's something that you feel like you have to do. Because I want you to know that it's okay for you to have feelings, and it's okay for you to give those feelings a voice and let them guide you, and to give you pause and to take a moment to hear and decide what you need most for yourself. That's the key. Because there are moments, not always, but sometimes when those feelings may be guiding you or alerting you to something deeper, and you owe yourself a minute to listen and turn inward and try to understand what it is that the emotion might be trying to tell you or show you. And then you can decide how to proceed. Because emotions are information, but they're also transient, fluid, malleable. They can shift as your thoughts, your focus, your perspective, your circumstances, and your nervous system state shifts. So I'm not telling you to trust your feelings in a way that you automatically obey them and allow them to run your life, but I'm also asking you not to automatically dismiss or override them either. And the funniest part about this is that this episode is actually proof of the exact point that I'm making here. So stay with me, because I promise this will make so much more sense when I break it all down for you, okay? So obviously, I didn't post an audio for the past 2 Fridays. And I told you guys that I already had one planned that I wanted to share, but the last message that I recorded hijacked it. And then when it came time to finally record the one I had been working on, I didn't really feel connected to it anymore. And I'll share with you why in just a moment. But right now, I'm navigating a lot in my life. I'm going through a lot of changes, a lot of transition. I'm experiencing a lot of unknowns. I'm going through a lot of cleansing, purging, releasing, ascension symptoms, you name it, all while simultaneously feeling like I need to keep building momentum, being consistent, making sure I'm doing quote unquote my part to both receive and actively participate in what God is doing in my life. Because this is a co-creative process, right? I said that earlier. But then on top of all of that, I still have a family. And then I'm constantly getting strict instructions from God that I need to rest and take care of myself, and that I need to be focused on regulating my nervous system and doing the things I need to do for me. And I just told you guys how excited I was about August coming in, because July had been a lot. And I was feeling really good in the first week. So I expected the month, especially with the Lionsgate portal, to be all light and fun and exciting, because I'd been doing the same manifestation exercise I shared with you on the last audio, and some other things that I knew would speed up my manifestation process even more during the 8/8 portal. But instead, it actually brought up a ton of things for me to clear and for me to feel, and a lot of things for me to move through. Let's just say it has been a very emotional past 2 weeks for me, with the eclipse and everything going on astrologically and energetically right now. And I've been so grateful for my YouTube peeps for letting me know that I'm not alone in this, because I really thought I was losing my mind. And I know that this is a collective thing, so you might have been feeling a lot of this too. So I really wanted to do my part by coming here to share as well, to encourage you and, reassure you that you're not alone either. You're not going crazy either, okay? And most importantly, to remind you that it's totally okay for you to be a little selfish as you move through all of this, and to let people know you're taking care of yourself right now without apology. Because personally, I've been really loud and proud about telling people I'm in the era of me right now. I'm in a Tiffany era. Okay, so I'm focused on me. But also, lately, I've been posting an audio every Friday, and somehow my ego twisted that into I have to post every Friday now, because apparently me liking the idea of posting on Fridays means that I post every Friday without fail, no matter what else I have going on in my life. That's just what we do now. We need to keep that up, so we can be consistent and do our part in this co-creative process. But who's to say that my part is the actual action of posting a Miracles Unscripted episode every Friday, specifically? So I really had to look at that, and I really had to question, what's really going on right now? Is this true, or is this something I think I have to do to receive or to be perceived a certain way? Do I feel like I genuinely have something to say, or do I feel like I'm required to have something to say because it's almost Friday? And the answer was that what I needed to do was be true to myself, and remember the agreement that I made with God and myself, that I would only create when I felt called and guided to create. I wouldn't look for things to talk about, and I wouldn't manufacture content or force messages that didn't genuinely light me up just for the sake of having something to post. So last week, I finally surrendered all of that pushing and forcing and proving and performing energy that I felt. And I decided that if I had a message by Friday, I would share it. And if I didn't, I wasn't going to force one. And I definitely wasn't going to force the one that I already had planned either, because even though I felt more ready to teach it last week than I did the week before, it had kind of lost its fire. So this message finally came through last Friday. I felt called to share what I had been processing and moving through and experiencing in real time first, like I said, just to encourage you if you were in a similar place right now. If you're in what some people would call the messy middle. I call it the gap, the in-between, because this is where you seem to land when you're in between the identity of the old you and all of the things that you've given up, and the identity of who you are choosing to be now and where you're headed. So the message started to come through. I recorded it. I edited the entire thing, and I was ready to post it just to say I got it done, check it off the list, whatever. Because another lesson I've had to learn over the years is done is better than perfect. Because as a recovering perfectionist, I've been working on the whole perfectionism thing, but something just didn't sit well with me about what I had recorded. I couldn't even necessarily tell you why that night, but I just knew it was bigger than me being a perfectionist. It wasn't about perfectionism. I just knew internally that what I had recorded wasn't it. So I closed my laptop. I decided to see how I felt after I slept on it. And when I woke up Saturday morning, I could see everything clearer. over. And had I overridden that feeling the night before and just posted because the episode was technically finished, I would have missed so many major pieces of this message that I'm giving you right now. So let's go back for a moment to the initial message I had planned and why I didn't feel connected to it anymore. Like I told you in the last audio, I wanted to break down the seventh decision, because there is a seventh decision and it's not the self-devotion thing. It's a completely different piece. And that message had a lot of depth and a lot of layers. And so I had a lot to share with you guys. But as I started to work through it and talk to God about it and write down my notes and stuff like that, I was like, well, wait a minute though. Looking at my life right now, I don't feel like this shit even works. And I'm just being really real and really vulnerable with y'all right now, because that's just really where I was. Like, I was just in a place where I was like, I don't see how any of this is working in my life right now. Now, obviously, I was just in my feelings in that moment, because I know all of these decisions that I made are not only working now, but they are things that I've done countless times in my life that have worked before. It's just on an entirely different level now, you know? These same types of decisions are how I went from losing everything in 2008 to having a huge quantum leap and manifesting my dream life in 2014, and then having another huge quantum leap in 2018 after unknowingly diving headfirst into my personal surrender experience, which is a whole other topic. But I know what surrender and trust in God has done in my life and in my clients' lives. I've seen it again and again and again. This is a proven process that I've watched play out countless times. So I know what I've been doing works. And I know that these decisions are what created the momentum I've been riding on since January, and also what is creating everything that's happening behind the scenes. But it just felt like the momentum was kind of at a standstill, like I had hit a brick wall or something. And we talked about this over the past few audios. This is the all hell breaking loose phase. This is the rearranging that's happening. I've been in this place many times before. I'm very familiar with it. But this time, it's just been more intense, because like I said, it's an entirely different level now. And last week, I was just at a point where I was just like, I don't really understand, God, how you can expect me to go out here and teach people this stuff when I don't even know if I believe this stuff myself. Like, I'm not seeing the fruits of all my labor over the past 5 or 6 years of my life right now. And every time I felt like, finally, this is it, this is the moment, this is the breakthrough, I just get disappointed again and again and again. And that's just how I felt. And like I told you, I don't hide my true feelings from God. I get them out so I can surrender and move forward. But I also knew that I wasn't in the right energy to share that message at that time, because I was questioning it myself, if I'm being completely honest. So I had to deal with my own emotions, and I had to get myself together first. And so I backburnered that message. Because if I'm being real with you guys, this life is not for the weak. Like, when you know that you're called to do something significant and called to do work that matters deeply to you, and you know you're here to change things, to break generational patterns in your bloodline, when you're meant to lead and create differently, there's a lot of weight and a lot of responsibility that comes with that. What's the Spider-Man saying? With great power comes great responsibility, or something like that. It can feel like you're constantly fighting battle after battle after battle, or like you're carrying the world on your shoulders and you're constantly being stretched what feels like beyond capacity. But it's literally your life's work to confront and face the shadow parts of yourself, make decisions that aren't necessarily conventional, and then hold a vision that literally has no external evidence whatsoever. And it gets old sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, it can be really, really exhausting, because when you've done the amount of spiritual work and shadow work and surrender work that I've done, and probably you've done too, and you're not seeing the results you want to see, it starts to get to a place where it's just kind of like, what's the point of all of this? Like, what am I doing all of this for? And even though now in hindsight, I understand why I've been feeling stuck for so long, but it still doesn't change the fact that I'm ready for shit to change. When you know you've done the same things countless times and they've always worked, and all of a sudden they just stop working, it's like, what the F? And it's always funny to me when people tell me like, oh, you make it look so easy and effortless. I mean, it might look that way, but I wish I could say that I always move through these difficult seasons with all this poise and grace and confidence that you see in these moments when I'm teaching. But I don't always. Now, it may be true that I tend to move through challenges more smoothly than a lot of people, because I know who I am and whose I am and what I came to this world to do. And I'm confident in that. And I'm confident in God. And I know that He always has my back. And so because of that, I'm not afraid of the darkness. I'm not afraid of the shadow. I'm not afraid of surrender. But I don't somehow magically have it all together or live some flawless life just because I'm a coach, or even because I spend a lot of time with God. None of that makes me exempt from pain and heartache and struggle. I am, as we all are, a perpetual work in progress. And even when I'm exhausted, I still face the work head on, because I know my life and the lives of my children and their children depends on it. But that also doesn't make it any less exhausting. And then to add insult to injury, when God has shown you the vision your whole life, especially this year, I've gotten so many downloads since January about what would be happening this year. And in December, when I decided that freedom was going to be my word for 2026, which I'm starting to realize now was a download in itself. I didn't realize that at the time. But I had no idea then what I was setting into motion. But now I know where I'm going. I can see it in the 5D. I know what's on the other side of all of this. I've seen things I probably shouldn't even know already, but I know. And it might not be exact, because I do believe that God God likes to keep an element of surprise so he can amaze and delight us with more than we even asked or imagined. I get that. But that makes it worse, honestly, because I'm thinking if what he has for me is bigger and better than what I can already see, I mean, come on. Still being in this current reality just feels like effing torture. And for the past month or two, I've just felt like I'm under this immense amount of pressure. But when I woke up last Saturday morning after feeling some kind of way about that message I had recorded the night before, I remembered something that God had shown me a few weeks back when I first started experiencing all of this upheaval and feeling all this pressure. And I actually have been wanting to share this message for a while, but it was another one of those ones that kept getting sidelined by ones that I felt called to share more in the moment. But when I woke up that morning, it hit me that this is exactly the time that I needed to share this particular message. So for the past few months now, and this is actually still going on, God has been showing me people talking about diamonds. They never went into great detail, but it kept coming up. It was coming up in things I was watching or listening to or whatever. And they all had different things that they were saying or different pieces of the puzzle that they were talking about, or some of them would actually, say the saying that diamonds are formed under pressure. And I feel like people say that all the time. So it wasn't that it was something that I had never heard before, but I knew God was bringing it to my attention constantly for a specific purpose. And I really wanted to understand what it actually meant. So I started to do some research a few weeks ago, and I learned that diamonds are formed deep beneath the surface of the earth under extraordinary conditions like extreme heat and pressure. Pressure is literally part of the formation. Like, it's necessary. There's no way around it. And what God was showing me was that there are seasons in our lives where pressure is a part of our formation process as well. Like I said, it's necessary. There's no way around it. And that pressure is doing a lot that we can't see underneath the surface. It's revealing and refining, showing you what you actually believe, what you're still trying to control, where you need to surrender more. It's expanding your capacity to receive and building the vessel for miracles. And when I thought about that, I immediately thought about the scripture. I think it's in James. It says, let patience have her perfect work. Because despite how frustrating and exhausting and even sometimes painful this past few weeks and even years have been, we need to understand that there is work in progress. There is formation happening behind the scenes. And that's why I wanted to share this story about why I hadn't posted with you, because I wanted to show you exactly how this was playing out in my life in real time and how it was revealing to me exactly what I believe, what BS I'm still buying into, what I'm still trying to control, where I needed to surrender even more, and what patterns absolutely cannot go into this new life with me. And when I took the time I really needed for myself, instead of trying to push through and force things, I was able to see how all of these things were playing out. And it's funny now in hindsight, because I was all up in my feelings about not posting a video until I had that epiphany last Saturday. Because even after the first week when I didn't post, I started to feel some relief the week after. But then that voice started up again. You need to get a video up because you will be skipping 2 Fridays now if you don't get your stuff together this week, and you'll really look like a slacker. So I was putting more unnecessary pressure on myself and being ridiculously hard on myself, when really what I needed was a little self-love and understanding. I needed to give myself grace and space to move through what I was moving through, which is why I can come out here and make it look easy or effortless, like I'm always super confident and I have it all together. Because when I don't have it all together, I give myself space to not have it all together. This isn't some persona I put on for YouTube. I'm only able to maintain this grounded presence you see because I'm not forcing myself to perform while I'm falling apart behind the scenes. I tend to myself, I tend to my life when it calls to me, and I don't bury things until they implode. Because how many times have you overridden your feelings in those moments because you feel like you had too much to do to take a moment to focus on you and to take care of yourself? So like I said, if you're like me and you're going through a really difficult transition phase right now, and it feels like a void or a dark night of the soul, whatever it feels like, I feel you. And now that I've hopefully encouraged you and made you feel less alone, let me give you some truth. When you're in transition, the only way to the other side is through. And the only way through is to surrender. And that reminds me of this quote I love by somebody, Mike Fields, something like that. I can't remember exactly, but he says, in the end, whatever you're attempting to control will control you. The only way out is in, and the only way in is to surrender. And what that means is that you can think that you can force things and manipulate the circumstances and make reality bend to your will. And we do have extraordinary power. We are insanely powerful beings. So we absolutely have the power and ability to bend and shape reality in many ways. But at some point, surrender will be necessary and there won't be any way around it. Doing the work of going inward is required because everything cannot be handled on the external level. Because you can force something that you're not ready for, but if you haven't increased your capacity to hold what it is that you've created, what do you think think will happen? And I've told you the answer to this many times on this channel. You will not be able to sustain what you've created when you try to force it into reality before it's divine time, before you've been formed, before the vessel is complete. And this idea of the vessel being complete is something that I learned when I started studying Kabbalah about a year ago, building the vessel for the miracle. Because it's one thing to ask for something. It's another thing to be able to receive it, to hold it, sustain it, steward it. And y'all know I don't usually use the word become, right? Y'all know I don't like that word because I don't believe that you need to become who God created you to be. I don't believe in becoming her. You already are her. You're already miraculous. You're already powerful. You're already freaking extraordinary. You're already divinity in human form, and the gifts and the brilliance that God placed inside of you is already there. It's already formed. It's just all about remembrance. So you have to remember that you are one with source, and then you have to choose to embody that truth. But becoming works with building the vessel because you can already be who God created you to be and still be becoming the vessel capable of holding everything you're meant to create and receive. The vessel is about capacity. So the pressure is building you into the vessel capable of holding everything that was already meant for you because of who you already are. And I think that distinction is really important because so often we're saying, God, I'm ready for the new life. I'm ready. I'm ready for the next level. I'm ready for everything I've been asking for. Put me in the game, coach, right? And God's just like, okay, but can you hold it though? Does your nervous system, identity, faith have the capacity to receive, sustain, and steward what I'm giving you when it arrives? Because I don't want millions of miracles if it's going to be short-lived. When I was younger and less mature, I'd often be like, well, just let me taste it. Let me test it out. Let me see. Let me be the judge. Maybe I wouldn't mind having it and losing it if I could just get a taste of it. But no, I'm not interested in that anymore. Whatever I receive, I want to keep. Whatever's for me, I want to be for me. And I don't want drama around it either. And there's another scripture that brings to mind. The blessing of the Lord maketh rich and adds no sorrow with it. I think that's what it is. I want something that's built to last. So let patience have a perfect work, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking nothing, wanting nothing. And that makes me think of even another scripture that says something along the lines of, he who has begun a good work in you will perform it till it's complete. God is doing something. God is doing a new thing. God is forming something, not only in your life, but in you. You have to trust him enough to let him work. And that's where this diamond message became even more profound and meaningful to me, because if you've been around for a while, I've completely rebranded over the past few months. And I always use the butterfly as the symbol for miraculous women because that's the way I saw it, in the beginning. But when I rebranded, the pink diamond became a part of my logo. And I didn't even think about this at first. But when I put all this together, I was absolutely mind blown by God, even though I don't know why anything he does surprises me anymore. But it just made this message so much more significant and powerful, because as I continued to research, I learned that pink diamonds are extraordinarily rare. There's something specific about the conditions that the pink diamond experiences that produces something even more valuable and exceptionally rare compared to the white diamond. What makes pink diamonds so unusual, obviously, is their pink color. And what happens is during its formation, it experiences a particular kind of geological stress that distorts its crystal structure. That distortion changes the way the diamond interacts with light, and that's what gives it its pink color. And I mean, it's pink. If you know, you know. Like, what else is there to talk about? But it isn't simply just the amount of pressure that the diamond endured that makes it different. It's something unusual that happened within that pressure that actually changed the structure. And when I thought about that, I was just like, oh my God, because it's the same thing that happens with us. It's not simply more heat and more pressure, right? Like, it's not that, oh, you've been through more shit, so you come out more valuable than everybody else. It's about what the pressure is producing within you, who you become inside of it, and as a result of it. So it's about so much more than I'm under an extreme amount of pressure right now. It's what's happening to me in the process of moving through that pressure. Because in the process, I'm learning to trust God more. I'm learning to trust myself more. I'm learning to surrender more deeply and regulate my nervous system instead of forcing and pushing my way through everything. I'm learning to give myself grace and space. I'm learning to hold a frequency that says I get paid to exist, right? And that's what I'm going to need for the life that I'm asking God for. And when I think about the women that I'm here to work with, it's the same with you. Like, you're more than a copy of another diamond. You're one of one. You're rare, exquisite, exceptional, extraordinary, precious, valuable, priceless, brilliant, radiant, unique, resilient. I mean, do I need to continue? And maybe all of the things you've had to endure, the pressure, the stretching, the heartbreak, the failure, or what we often perceive as failure, all the experiences you couldn't understand while you were going through them have contributed to the depth and capacity required for the work you came to this world to do. So I'm not saying that every painful experience was necessary or that we need to glorify suffering. Y'all know I don't believe in that. I'm saying that there are seasons where the pressure may be necessary and you can't judge the diamond while it's still being formed. And this is why no matter what I'm going through, I always come back to surrender, even when it takes longer than I'd like to admit. Because I'm definitely not perfect at this. I'll never try to pretend or make you believe that I am either. But surrender matters so much when you're under pressure, because it doesn't matter what the situation is or how you look at it. It's all the same at the end of the day. When you're in a moment like this, when you're in transition, in the gap, in the in-between, there are times when you're just going to be like, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. I didn't think it'd be this hard. I didn't think it would take all of this. Like, I thought I was just going to be manifesting. I thought it was just going to be light and fun and easy. And I was just going to quantum leap and everything was going to be different. And that's a whole other thing too. I have to tell y'all about in another audio, the truth about quantum leaps, because everybody thinks it's all fun and games. And it's like, oh, you just jump into the next level all of a sudden and you're just here and everything's peachy and roses and miracles and rainbows and unicorns and butterflies. But no, it's not that easy. And I feel like we're going through, because like I said, I believe that this is a collective shift happening. We're going through one of the biggest up levels of our lives. So I know it's not just me. And I believe that if you listen to me, you probably have a lot of this stuff going on too. And it's interesting because like I told you guys, this year has been kind of cool and fun compared to the last few years, because I'm actually seeing progress. I'm actually seeing things unfolding. I'm actually creating things and feeling like I'm in my magic again. I'm enjoying my business again. And then this last month or two, I'm just like, wait a minute, what is happening here? And some days it gets really hard and you feel like, you know what, forget it. I want to go back. Like, even though you know you don't actually want to, you just kind of feel like I want to go back. Like, this is how I felt for the past 2 weeks or so. I was just like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't want to do this anymore. Can we stop already? Like, I changed my mind. Can I turn around? But no, you can't turn around. You can't go back. God was literally just like, girl, you already did this. You already committed. You already made the decisions. It's already done. You're already in it now. So you got to see it through. But if you want to relieve some of this unnecessary pressure, you got to surrender. You got to surrender deeper than you ever have before. And if surrender is a new practice for you, I'm sending you all the love, okay? Because you are going to feel this. Like, I know you're going to feel it. And it's going to be difficult because I'm well practiced in surrender. I've been surrendering for well over a decade, but 2018, I would say, was the first time I ever really understood it on the level that I do now. And it's way deeper now, obviously. But this is almost a decade that I've been intentionally living a surrendered life. And it's still hard for me. So if it's new for you, I know it's going to rock you to the core. And I know that it feels hard. And I know you're probably exhausted, but you have to stay in the game, okay? You have to trust the process. You have to hold the frequency. You have to know that everything that's happening is happening for you and not against you. It's only happening to get you to the manifestation that you asked for. And the problem and the reason why most people don't reach what it is that they set out to reach or get the manifestation that they desired is because they turn around before they get there. They give up before they get there. But if you're in this place right now, I think you're too deep to even turn around. You really can't give up, because honestly, I tried. I was like, God, I give up. Like, I don't care about any of this anymore. I don't even need the stuff that bad. Like, it's okay. Like, it doesn't matter. I'm just so tired. It's not worth it. I quit. But then I just had to laugh at myself because it's like, girl, get it together, okay? Get yourself together. Get back to doing the stuff that you know works. Surrender. Let it go. Release it. Because really, that's the bottom line. Let it go. Release it. Stop trying to fight it. Stop trying to figure it out. Stop trying to force and control it, and let it unfold the way that it's meant to unfold. Let it happen naturally the way that it's supposed to happen. Because surrender allows us to stop fighting the process long enough to let the process do its work. Let patience have her perfect work. Let God finish what he started in you. Because I didn't actually want to quit, obviously. It's not like I really wanted to quit. I just needed to stop trying to control it. I needed to stop trying to force myself. Because there's another piece to this pressure conversation that I think is incredibly important. There is a difference between the pressure that is forming you and the pressure you are unnecessarily putting on yourself. I was putting pressure on top of pressure on top of pressure. And how many of y'all know that a lot of times in these situations, that intense pressure that we feel doesn't really have anything to do with God and everything to do with us and our egos and trying to force and control things. And that's why self-devotion is part of the process too. Rest, regulation, giving your feelings a voice, letting them be heard, giving yourself grace. All of that is a part of the manifestation process that people rarely talk about. When you're rested and regulated, you naturally do the things that you need to do and that you're devoted to. Sometimes it might feel like the slowing down, the pause, the rest is pulling you away from the work, or that is slowing you down more in your process, but it's actually restoring your capacity for the work. When you've been in stillness and solitude, it's much easier to hear your guidance, and it's also easier to take action on that guidance because now you have the energy and the capacity to do so. It's safe and okay for you to rest if that's what you need right now. So if you need a permission, here it is, okay? When we slow down, we're able to live more authentically. This is how you allow the real you to fully come online and come to the surface. As long as you're grasping and forcing and trying to control, you're keeping yourself tethered to the old you and the old life and the old reality, because it keeps you in separation and in lack and in scarcity and fear and illusion, so you feel separate from God, which is what separates you from the thing that you desire, because you're not embodying your truest self, your highest self, your oneness with source, your God essence, because that is what makes you polished. That's what makes you brilliant. That's what makes you sparkle and shine. That's what makes you magnetic and receptive. That's what makes you the brightest, so that you can receive all of the things that are meant for you. So it's safe for you to relax, to slow down, to take a moment to breathe. You're not late. You're not behind. You're exactly where you're meant to be. Remember, the diamond is formed where nobody else can see it. So maybe you're in a season where nobody can see what God is doing in you and in your life yet. Maybe you can't even see it yet, and that's okay. But it doesn't mean that nothing is happening. Even in moments like these, means I have to choose to trust again and again and again. And you have to choose to trust again and again and again. Because for me, I chose a life where I trust God every step of the way, regardless of what it looks like. And I also chose a life where I get to model this. Yay me, right? I get to model this for people. I get to show people what trusting God looks like, not only after the miracles happen, but while I'm still inside the process, while I'm still under pressure, while I still have a ton of questions, while I still have days where I want to quit and I want to give up. Because I believe people need to see that. People need to see what's real and not just what people want to show you on their highlight reel. So maybe you need somebody to remind you that having a few difficult days or weeks or months or even years doesn't mean you're not worthy. It doesn't mean you're not capable or valuable. Feeling pressure doesn't mean you're on the wrong path. And needing to rest doesn't mean you have to quit. You can still be under pressure and still trust God. You can still surrender and still desire more, because you are the miracle, right? You are the catalyst. You are the portal. You possess the power to create worlds, and everything you desire or have desired or ever will desire flows through you. Everything else is just overflow. Everything that happens outside of you is just overflow, but all of it is flowing through you anyway, all of it. So continue to be that badass, that rebel who dares to be different and chooses to do life and money and business and leadership differently. You don't have to follow anyone else's rules. You came here to blaze your own trail, to be true to yourself and true to your own dreams, visions, and desires. There are no rules or specific instruction manuals that you are required to follow when you're on God's timeline and God's payroll. God gave you a divine blueprint, and it is you. You are the blueprint. Your brilliance, your individuality, your uniqueness, your authenticity is what will open the opportunities for the love and the joy and the peace you desire to feel every day, and the wealth and the success and everything else you know deep within was meant for you. So embrace that, decide, surrender, and embody that. Trust that, and then trust God enough to surrender all the details to Him and let Him work, okay? In the Miraculous Millionaire realm, there'll be a portal with prayers and affirmations, declarations, commands, all of the things that you can use to connect you deeper with God and connect you deeper with yourself, and also where you can connect with other people who are on a similar journey. Because I know from experience, when you're going through journeys like this, there are a lot of people in your immediate circle that don't understand, that won't be able to understand. And unfortunately, sometimes a lot of these people in your immediate circle are people you got to let go of. You know what I'm saying? So you may not have the best support system right now. And that's why mentors and community are so important, because they can support you throughout the process so you don't have to do it alone. So if that's something you know that you want and you need, and not necessarily need, because you're amazing, you're extraordinary, you're going to be able to do whatever you need to do for yourself. As long as you're connected to God, everything is possible. I'm never going to tell you that you can't get where you're trying to go on your own. You absolutely can. But it can take a lot longer than necessary, and it can be harder than necessary. And why go the hard route when you can do it with other people who can help you along the way? And honestly, you just have to choose that because you know that it's something that you deserve. And if it is something you definitely know you deserve and want to give yourself, that's what the Miraculous Millionaire realm is for. And I'd love for you to join us. All right. Also, of course, if you made it this far, please like, subscribe, hit that little notification bell so you don't miss the next audio. I love you guys so much. I'm sending you all the love, lots and lots and lots of love as you move through whatever process you might be in right now. You're going to get through this. I know you will, because I know you're strong. I know you're resilient. I know you got this, and God's got you. All right. I hope you're having a beautiful, extraordinary, miraculous day wherever you are in the world. I will talk to you soon. Mwah. Lots of love and miracles.